Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
This episode is sponsored by AutoTrader. There's a good chance you're driving right now. Look around. Safely. What do you see? Cars. Lots of them. And guess what? They're probably on AutoTrader. Whether you're into timeless classics or the latest trends. Did somebody say solar-powered, eco-friendly, vegan, leather-wrapped, aromatherapy-scented, disco ball-equipped, self-driving car? If you see it on the road, you can likely find it on AutoTrader. Big cars, small cars, blue cars, new cars, used cars, electric cars, and one day, maybe even flying cars. With millions to choose from, buying a car becomes a whole lot easier. See it, find it, AutoTrader. Find your next car on autotrader.com.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Leaf Girl, Min, Sex Caliber Bones a Lot, Madeline, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Logan, Libby, Aaron, Kristen, Amy, Tia, Jonathan, and Isaac. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group where we'll be Hadoukening people from across the fight daily.
I'm sorry, I still sound bad.
You sound so much better, though. Paige, do you remember what Mikey sent us in our Facebook Messenger chat that we still use, even though he's not a host anymore?
Which one? Because peek behind the curtain, it is 9/11. Where was Pierce Brosnan? Ask yourself. And it has just been a myriad of 9/11 memes today.
It has been a lot. Yeah. And I apologize.
Impossible to forget.
But it's the one about Bon Jovi because...
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The TN Holler just posted actual video of Bon Jovi saving the woman's life.
My favorite. No, go ahead and give the context, and then I will say my favorite part of it.
Yeah. So for context, Mikey sent us a message that was like the news article about it, I guess. And he's like, Bon Jovi over here hogging all the credit because that's sort of what Mikey is doing. He's like saving people from like jumping off pedestrian bridges and whatnot. And all of a sudden, Bon Jovi swings in like a rich, Batman to save the day. So funny.
He's pulling an opposite Dave Matthews and pulling stuff onto bridges. I think my favorite part of this is Mikey legitimately being like, oh, so Bon Jovi does it once, but I've done it like 50 times. And no one cares.
I am literally going to repost their story and just be like, why isn't there a team that handles this kind of stuff in town?
Come on, Nashville. Oh, God. The laughter is making it worse.
I'm sorry. Let's just start.
Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. But this week, Paige didn't make us watch a scary movie. She made us watch a horny high school Harry Potter called The Covenant.
The Covenant.
So, Paige, just from me,
Sure.
and I'm assuming the listeners to you, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
This was a blast.
It's nuts, right?
Good Lord. Yes. I mean, yes, it's so nuts. But when was the first time you saw it?
Okay, so this came out like right after I graduated high school, like my freshman year of college, like the fall in college. And we did not see it in theaters because poor read college.
Right?
But we did rent it later that year from the Blockbuster on campus, or rather the Blockbuster right next to campus, because that was still a thing that happened in 2006, or at that point, 2007. Anyway, I do remember when God, this whole story is going to make me sound very old. I promise.
You already said Blockbuster, like that's a fun thing to say.
I know, Blockbuster.
Like it's already the oldest sentence half the audience has heard.
It's about to get older. So I went to college before Wi-Fi was common.
I mean, same. Yeah.
Yeah. The school had like just installed Wi-Fi in some of the lecture halls, but not all of them. And it was like a new thing. It had only worked occasionally. But that meant that we didn't have internet TV the way that we do now. Now, if you're in college, I assume you just stream everything on your computer or whatever.
Yeah.
We at the time had campus cable, which came with our dorm. And it was, you plugged it in via Ethernet. So you had to have a TV with coax cables that you could like plug into campus cable. And it was like 10 or 12 channels. And it was like Comedy Central, multiple MTVs, and like for some reason, History Channel, and then like whatever showed Law and Order. And the only reason I know it was whatever showed Law and Order and CSI is because we watched it religiously in the sorority house, which also had campus cable.
The fraternities were either watching MTV or Hitler docs on the History Channel.
Oh, they had a DVD player, and so it was always Meerkat Manor, which I think was either Animal Planet, which was the History Channel family, or some dude was really into Made in Manhattan, that J-Lo movie, and they would play that all the time, or porn that they had purchased, because you would still, like, you couldn't just cast web porn to your TV at this time. You had to purchase pornographies on DVDs. All of this to say, because we all had campus cable, companies would pay to market things on campus cable because they thought it would be cool for college students. This is how I learned about Mika as a musical artist, because it was constantly on campus cable. So like a fuckload of us like went and saw Mika in concert because it was on campus cable. The trailer for this movie was constantly on campus cable so often. And there was a constant like discussion because it was like a lot of like hot dudes at the time. Like this is Chase Crawford before he ends up on Gossip Girl. Sebastian Stan also before he ends up on Gossip Girl. Steven Strait, who was on like CW stuff and a bunch of other stuff. And then Taylor Kitsch before Friday Night Lights. Like, so these were like up and coming hotties. And I remember that it was a multiple discussion in like the cafeteria watching campus cable where we're like, is that guy hot? I can't figure it out. And it was Sebastian Stan, where we were like, I think he might be hot, but I've never seen him before. And I don't know who he is. And then we rented the movie later and we're like, yeah, I think so. Great.
I mean, you were right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much every dude in this movie is hot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But that's how I saw this movie. It was aggressively marketed to me as a freshman in college.
Nice. By the way, Mika's Life in Cartoon Motion came out in 2007, which is right after this movie came out.
Yeah, that was the album.
So that was like a great pull. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that was his first album. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think, it's almost a perfect album. It's so good.
And it was before the album came out. There was no album yet. It was just the singles. And they would play the music video for Grace Kelly in the cafeteria all the time.
I'm sure.
And I remember like sitting there and being like, man, this is fucking great. And then the following year, instead of Mika, it was Ludo. I don't know if you remember the Ludo album that came out in like 07, 08, but I think Love Me Dead is the like main single. But that music video played constantly on campus cable. And so there's like a handful of things that I'm like, oh yeah, that was a campus cable pull. But yeah, this was a campus cable pull.
I mean, we'll talk about it in box office. It didn't lose money.
Oh, I'm sure it didn't.
So...
I'm sure it still makes money now for all the Marvel fangirlies who are like, wait, what? There are things before the Winter Soldier?
I choose to believe that these are in a shared universe because he's still got powers.
I mean, the Winter Soldier doesn't really have powers. He just has that vibrating arm.
I would say that makes him pretty powerful in a few ways, Paige.
Well, I guess he's also a super soldier too, huh?
Yeah.
But he can't like levitate and shit.
I mean, he doesn't have the force like they do in this movie, but...
Oh, yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay.
First of all, today was the first time you saw this movie, yes?
Yes, Paige, of course I never saw this movie. I'm not a girl of your age or, whatever.
Yeah, right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Although I'd be really interested if you, well, maybe not because Mormon, but I was going to say if you asked around the girls who were your friends at the time, if any of them went out and saw it or whatever. But again, Mormon.
I know they did because I knew about this movie. So of course
Okay.
I know they did. Yeah.
Yeah, now it's just that fun thing where like people get Sebastian Stan to say "weotch" at conventions and stuff.
Oh my God. Dude, he is next level in this movie. I think he is by far the best actor on the screen. And maybe that's just because he's having the most fun.
He's clearly having the most fun.
I mean, he is. I think he knows this movie's insane.
Right.
I'm lucky to be here because no one on this stage knows me.
Right.
So I'm just going to fucking crush this craziness. And he does.
Right? I mean, it's wild to watch now and be like, that guy's one of the best actors of our generation. Like, that's a crazy thing to know. Like, that dude might win an Oscar in the next couple of years. And like, but this movie exists. So that's a fun dichotomy for me.
I think what we're saying is it really matters how good your script is.
So much.
Paige, I have just one fundamental question as we get started here.
I am so excited to answer for you because I've seen this a number of times and I feel like there are a lot of parts of the mythology of this movie that don't make sense at all. And then the rest that only make sense after you've seen it multiple times and have put weird puzzle pieces together in your mind about it. So yeah, let it rip. What questions do you have?
I'll start with this statement, then follow-up questions.
Great, okay.
I don't know, and don't take this like bad.
Sure.
What is Sebastian Stan's plan? I just don't, I don't understand why. Like, what is he doing? Like, why does he need any bait? Like, he's hanging out with them on the daily. He doesn't need bait. Why? What is happening? Why doesn't he just, punch one when he's standing next to them all day? I don't get it. I don't. Nothing makes sense.
Okay, unfortunately, I can answer this for you.
I hate that. I knew you would. I knew you would know.
And again, this is only after having watched this movie multiple times because I find this movie hilarious and love torturing people with it.
I don't want anyone to think that I didn't love watching it.
Oh, yeah.
Natalie watched part of it with me, and then she had to go to her nephew's middle school football game where they are just wrecking teams, man. They won tonight 35-0. It's crazy.
Jesus Christ.
I don't even know what they're doing.
Was the other team even there?
Well, they do play for the whatever school Weotches, so maybe there's some magic going on.
Ooh, witchy.
No, I mean, they're just really good, I guess. It's middle school, though, so, I could have won. It doesn't matter. Just push them. It's fine. They're kids.
They're just running around. Yeah.
If you get Mikey and me in pads, we would have won 2-11 or whatever. Or 2.
Well, yeah, they're children.
That's my point. They're kids. Whatever. They're not. It's great. It's great. But I'm going to make her watch this before the 24-hour rental expires.
Right.
Because I know she would love this high school production of a CW produced script.
Right.
That is this movie. It is so silly and bad and fun. And I don't know why, but I'm so glad someone keeps giving Rennie Harlan money to do things.
Right? He's a crazy person.
Yes, he has a weird vibe and aesthetic and it's almost like you took an alien and said, make a movie about a human experience. And he said, I'll do my best.
What about teen warlocks?
Yeah, I don't know. He just seems it seems like we are watching someone who's never lived in the U.S. try to nail U.S. teen culture.
Yes.
And not having any idea what it's like.
No.
Like, they go into, and I'm assuming they're in high school.
Yes.
They go into a bar, like a full-ass bar.
Full-ass bar and just order burgers.
Many times in this movie. Like, this is not where we get burgers and fries. Like, this conversation would have happened at like an In-N-Out or something like that, you know?
Right.
But In-N-Out doesn't have pool tables, I guess.
Right. It doesn't have pool tables. And the fact that they would even be allowed in the establishment, questionable.
Oh, it's crazy.
Secondly, imagine this happening in like, let's say 2005 when they filmed it or whatever. This is supposed to be 2005's America. We see one cell phone, or I guess two cell phones. One person seems to have one. Every kid is driving. There's no internet at all. There's not even a computer. In the movie, it is played like the 90s The Craft, but with dudes.
Yeah.
By a person who's only heard about The Craft and is gonna try and write it from memory.
Yeah, someone threw The Craft script at him, and he did his best to like recreate the script that hit him in his face. That came out in this movie. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I still don't think you've done a good job answering what the fuck Sebastian Stan's plan is.
Oh, that's what I started this sentence to do.
I have no idea why he had to do anything he did.
Okay. He doesn't. But if he didn't, there would be no movie. His plan, insofar as I can understand it from multiple viewings of this film, he is the descendant of the Putnams, which were the fifth family of Ipswich that everyone thought died out in the Salem witch trials.
Right.
And part of the reason they died out is because the rest of the family stayed silent and allowed for his trial to proceed, so he was killed.
You mean so his father was killed, not Sebastian Stan?
His ancestor. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the only way that you get that information is A, multiple viewings, but B, when she goes to the library and she's reading books about it, there's no dialogue. It just shows you shots of the books and highlights words. And you're supposed to read and infer from that this backstory that John Putnam was the fifth magic family. His calling card was basically the spiders. That was like his, if you want to think of like his transmogrification or whatever, that's what he could do. And that he knocked up Goody Pope. And then as an incubus, not the band, but also wouldn't that be hilarious? It's 2006. That's prime time for Incubus.
Yeah, so Brandon Boy knocked up Goody Pope and, so little Sebastian Stan popped out. That makes sense.
Yeah, prime Incubus time. And then that bloodline survived and continued to have the power. But because they were divorced, and by divorced, I just mean separated, not like marriage divorced, from the rest of the families of Ipswich, they did not necessarily know the history of their power until like way down the line when Sebastian Stan is like figuring it out. And then he, in figuring out that like literally all the rest of the sons of Ipswich and their families kind of turned on the Putnams, he's now going to try and get revenge. In order to do that, he accidentally kills his own parents, his adoptive parents, when he ascends because he has power. He gets his own biological father to will him his power. So he's got like double power.
Ooh, double power.
Double power. The more you use the power, the more it ages you. And it's also addictive. So he's trying to get more power so he can use more, not realizing that that's not going to stop the aging process. And it's just going to make it more addictive.
Yeah, I did catch that. Yeah.
But his goal is to get the most power.
Yeah. And
consolidate it. And then potentially kill all the rest of them.
So it's like High School Highlander?
Yeah, it's kind of like High School Highlander.
Honestly, I want that movie more than I wanted this one, but I didn't hate this one.
Right, I'm still glad we got this one. So let's get into it and talk about this movie, right?
Yeah, maybe we should just go through this movie scene by scene, Paige.
All right. We begin with 3 different title cards to tell us about what's about to happen in this movie. Each makes less sense than the last. None of them connect to each other. And none of this really explains anything.
Do you want me to read them to you?
But I wrote all of them down.
Yeah, so did I, Paige.
Go ahead and go.
No one really knows how the power came to be. Not even the Book of Damnation recorded its beginning, but those who mastered it have always been hunted. In the middle of the 17th century, many escaped the brutal witch hunting in England and France by coming to America, as the brutal persecution of those with the power spread through Massachusetts. Sorry. Families of Ipswich formed a covenant of silence.
Let's address some of the claims made in these slides briefly.
Well, should we finish it?
First of all,
because we're not yet done.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, there's more.
For 300 years, it's kept them safe. Until
now.
God damn you, Rennie Harlan. I'm in, baby.
Almost every slide includes the word brutal. That's fun. It seems to be the only adjective they know. But let's break it down. First of all, no one knows where the power came to be. It is. But they've always been hunted. So, like, there's that. But then they escape the hunting to come to America, where we've never had a prominent witch trial ever.
But the Salem witch trials are like famous.
I know. Not that the ones in England and France aren't. They are too. And also Germany. Germany had some wild witch trials. But the fact that they were like, they went for safety in Massachusetts at 16, whatever. I'm like, so you mean right around the time we killed a bunch of witches? Or people that we accused of being witches?
I mean, but that's why they said that, though. It was like they came there and then they like were the witches that got persecuted, right?
Except not. So that's the weird thing of the story. The one guy, Putnam, is, right? So he gets killed. The rest of the family formed a covenant of silence, went underground, and for 300 years it has kept them safe. So they basically let a whole bunch of other people get killed in the witch trials while they amassed generational wealth and kept this weird cave book in the basement. And that has kept them safe until the white zombie credits roll.
I mean, it is white zombie credits, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Unfortunately, it is. Although I do like More Human Than Human. It kind of slaps.
Oh, no, this song totally slaps, and it's perfect for the time. But my favorite is that if you've seen this movie more than once, rewatch the credits, because it is trying to give you so much information in the credits. And we've talked about this a couple times on movies where it's like these Knock at the Cabin. We talked about this, where it's like the drawings during the credits mean things, but only if you've seen the movie before.
Yeah.
This movie, egregious for that, because it literally has shots of like the couples that end up together. Like, they haven't even met yet. In the credits, we're seeing pictures of them like hooking up. We're seeing pictures of like candles, pentagrams, spell books. It's very much, they're like, hey, so if we could just get the opening sequence of Charmed.
Exactly. I was going to say that. I was like, this is just Charmed. I mean, I was dating women around this time. I know what a Charmed intro looks like.
Yeah.
I knew when it was cool for me to leave the room.
I am the sun. I am the air. Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to go play some Halo. It's 2006 or whatever. I'm out.
I'm out.
Yeah.
But it's also White Zombie, which honestly kind of slaps.
Way better than the Charmed song, whatever that one was.
Oh, no, that Charmed song is a fucking classic. I love that. Anyway, in the credits, they highlight words where it's like full power. So if you watch the credits after having seen the movie before, it tells you in the credits, they get their powers at 13, they ascend at 18, then they have full power, but it'll age them. The power is addictive and seductive. And it's all these like highlighted words that basically tell you the movie while you're listening to White Zombie. And then the movie happens after that, which is wild.
It's like they're trying to do that thing that like most James Bond movie credit sequences have, where they like sort of foreshadow the movie a little bit through like artistic sort of, license. They're not really telling you exactly what's happening, but you're seeing some like set pieces or whatever. And this one, they just like give it away, it seems. They're like, it's this, guys.
Yeah.
There's no subtext. Here's the text. We've highlighted the bits that are important.
Well, it is 2006, so I would argue they give it away now.
Yeah. Although that song, I think, came out in the 90s, for the record.
It's earlier.
I mean,
It's at least earlier 2000s. I don't remember if it's pre-2000.
I was a child when Californication came out, and that was after that. Anthony Kiedis is like 63 now. He's old.
And dating like a 20-something.
I did not know that, but that does not surprise me.
It's real gross. 94.
94, yeah.
94.
The same year True Lies comes out, which is next Thursday's episode of Romance in the Pod.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It actually, the most common version is the live version from 94, but it actually came out on Blood Sugar Sex Magic in 1991.
I thought it was Blood Sugar Sex Magic, because that's my favorite.
I mean, fitting for this movie, though.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Give it away now.
But that's the one with Suck My Kiss on it, right? That's like,
yeah.
I think, the best Red Hot Chili Peppers song, which I know is crazy. It's definitely one of their better ones, but there are better ones. Sure.
There's a lot of good Chili Pepper songs.
There's a joke in, we probably should cut this because I'm not 100% sure if this is true. But there's a joke that Rick Rubens says, what's the best thing to ever come out of a haunted house?
It was Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Well, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, because apparently they recorded it in a mansion that was once owned by Harry Houdini, allegedly. And so it was like haunted. I don't know. I mean, that's like one of those urban.
That's a fun story, though. I like that.
I don't know if I don't know Rick Rubin. I don't know if he actually says that, whatever.
I mean, could you imagine, though, if you show up to record an album at a haunted mansion and it's an old guy being like, in order for me to disperse my inheritance, you're going to have to solve my murder, and then I'll give it away.
I do like that at the end of this movie, his deadbeat dad, more or less, or the one who just got addicted to the power, like willfully kills himself to like grant his inheritance to his son, so his son can beat up the other rich kid. Like, I don't know. This whole movie feels very inaccessible to me from a class perspective. It's really just about people passing down trust funds to their children.
Todd, I don't even think it's inaccessible from a class perspective. I think it's inaccessible from a human perspective.
That's what I mean. Rennie Harlan is such a special person.
Where, again, this seems like it was made by an alien, maybe.
I know. That's what I mean.
An alien that definitely saw Lost Boys. Because as soon as the credits end, they're all standing on a cliff and they're like, should we drop in? Yeah. And they're just like, wow, like jumping off the cliffs.
You know what's so funny, though, is because it just took 3 title cards to explain that there are witches, but they have a covenant of silence, so they never use their power. Immediately cut to them using power.
Well, and the witch powers in this movie seem both limitless in their scope,
yes,
but limited in their use whenever convenient for the plot.
Oh, yeah, Paige, I almost blew a head gasket yelling at my TV when they're in the library, and they use their powers to float to the roof.
Right.
But not to close the drawer they were working out of, so the security guard knows exactly where to go.
Or, Todd, to transport.
Say more, Paige.
Why does no one transport in this movie?
Paige, what do you mean there's no transport in this movie? They fly their Jeep in the second scene.
This is what I'm saying, Todd. This is what I'm saying. They fly their Jeep. He pushes his car through that other truck. And at no point, there's multiple times where they're like, we should probably get out of here because someone's about to come. At no point is anyone just like, poof, flew powder to somewhere else. Even fucking Harry Potter could do that shit. It's wild.
They can disapparate or whatever in Harry Potter.
Yeah. And for some reason, that's like the one thing these guys can't do.
Who knows if they can't do it? The guy smashed into a truck and the car disappeared and reappeared with him behind the wheel again. I don't know what to call that if not disapparation on a physical and material around you level.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. So what, like, we know that can happen. We saw it happen. And then they're in the library and they're like, somebody's coming. Let's float. Instead of just like, let's be outside the library right now. I feel like that's the fastest way.
I don't know, man. Sometimes you just gotta float, baby.
Sometimes you just gotta float. Fizzy lifting drinks. Get into it.
It does look like that because they're just like floating, and then they like stop the pages from falling. We'll get there. We'll get there. It's silly. It's so silly.
We'll get there. They lost boys off a cliff into a beach party where everyone is dressed in their country club finest. Because again, this is 2006, where everyone has to wear a minimum of 3 polo shirts at any given time.
It's great.
It's just all layers all the time. Scarves, even if it's not cold. Like the fashion in this movie, like I will never forget having to show Armando Torres something from this time. Oh, a music, like a Fall Out Boy music video from this time period. And he was like, why is everyone dressed crazy? And I was like, that's just how we dressed at the time. You were a child, so you probably didn't realize that most of the 20-somethings around you were wearing like 15 polo shirts at a clip. Was it the best time in fashion for you, Todd?
I think it was the best time in fashion because everyone was wearing layers. I was going to say that. Like, okay, so like everyone's dressed very sensibly for a climate like Massachusetts because it could be warm during the day and then cold at night. So you might want to have like a jacket and a hoodie to wear under that jacket and then like a t-shirt under that because at the height of the day, you're just going to leave that shit in the car and just rock the t-shirt. But as the day progresses, you might need need your hoodie and then a jacket.
That is true. At multiple points, we see Sebastian Stan specifically in like a long sleeve shirt that has some sort of hoodie, then a t-shirt over that, and then a blazer over that. Like, it's so many layers.
The dudes never looked better, Paige. We get it.
Oh, disagreed. My peak Sebastian Stan, my favorite.
We all know it's fresh, Paige. We know.
I mean, sure, but 2018. He had a great hair year that year.
It's so weird that you just said that.
Why?
You categorize him by good hair years.
Yeah.
And that was the peak.
It was a good time. Google it. Google Sebastian Stan 2018.
And just be like, hair? You want me to write in Sebastian Stan 2018 hair?
No, I'll Google this shit for you. I'll find it.
Please don't feel like you need to. Really, though?
He had a very specific look around this time. It was a lot of turtlenecks, beards, and very thick hair, but not very long. It was nice. Anyway,
okay.
They drop into that party.
Okay.
Too many polo shirts. And this is where we meet Sarah and Kate.
Yeah, Sarah and Kate are their names.
Sarah and Kate and Kira, who seem to be the only girls at this school.
Yeah, they are. But in all fairness, there's only like 14 people at the school.
Yeah, and it's also a school where you're like, are they in college or high school? It's a boarding high school.
Right.
Where a lot of them commute in.
But they're going to a lot of bars, guys.
A lot of bars. Anyway, Sarah is transferred in from Boston Public. And then we get like a shot of, I guess they try to make him like the school bully, but he's literally only in like 2 or 3 scenes of this entire movie. A guy named Aaron, and then Kira, who is either his sister or in the friend zone or something, because she's always like, yeah, that's the hot new girl. You should go talk to her. But then later she's like playing with his hair in class. And I'm like, what is this?
I don't know.
Who are y'all?
Yeah, no idea. Like, it is crazy. I don't understand anyone's relationship, but it's funny because this scene, everyone's using everyone else's like proper noun. They're saying all of their name, and I still don't know who anyone is. It's insane. Like, I think it's kind of difficult to write a scene that way, where every time someone's talking to someone, they say their name. And then by the end of it, I'm like, I have no fucking idea who any of these people are.
I mean, Todd, I'll tell you, it seems hard to you because you've never seen the seminal masterpiece, The Room, where every scene includes everyone's name all the time. Oh, hi, Mark. I did not hit Lisa. I did not. But I will tell you that I've seen this movie many times. I was today years old when I was like, oh, Chase Crawford's character's name is Tyler. I've seen this movie multiple times. And I always just in my head, I'm like Chase Crawford and the other one's name is Reed. And then I always remember that Taylor Kitsch's name is Pogue. And I'm like the band, like that's a really strange choice, but okay.
I legit didn't even notice that it was Chase Crawford.
Yeah, he looks so young.
Because I know him from The Boys.
Yeah.
And he looks so different. Although if you like really look at him, you can see it, of course.
Yes.
But like I was like, wait, the guy from The Boys was in this? Who was he?
Well, he's like a baby in this movie.
He's so young, yeah.
And because he does Gossip Girl only like a year or two later. But by the time you like see him in Gossip Girl, he looks a lot more like what we kind of think about him looking like today. And you're like, yeah, that's him. Whereas Sebastian Stan, I feel like has basically looked almost the same since this movie until he decided that facial hair was for him. And that's the only time he really started to look all that different. But it's the baby versions of all these people. And this is also where we meet Sebastian Stan, because he's also a new transfer student. From where? Who's to say? Nobody really knows much about him. He's mysterious.
But his family's trust fund made a large endowment to the school, so they're going to do whatever he wants.
Right.
Because, higher education's always been for sale or whatever.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you think it's not, like, spoiler, it do be that way.
It do.
And this isn't even higher education. This is just a high school. You could get your kid into any high school with money.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's sort of what this is. I mean, it's like the most elite high school of witches or whatever. I don't know. It's like, It's American Hogwarts, I guess.
Yeah.
Although it's not really. Like, they go to regular school. It's like if Twilight was magic and not vampires is more the vibe.
Well, Twilight takes place at a public high school, like in the movie, like, and the books.
Well, okay, but there's not like so much generational wealth in that one. Like, everyone in this movie is like sort of like a trust fund kid.
I mean, if you'll remember from Twilight, they matriculate a lot.
I don't even know what that means. We gotta get Jackie Zabrowski back on Romancing the Pod. We've got to.
I know. I gotta get to Jackie. But yeah, no, it's a fancy prep school. It reminds me of the Delphi Academy, which is the fancy Scientology prep school in Los Angeles. But like, there's a whole bunch of schools like this on the East Coast, and it funnels you into like a Yale or Dartmouth or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen Dead Poet Society. I know what the vibe is. Like, I'm good. We can move on.
Warlock, my warlock. Yeah, exactly.
Seize the muggle.
Anyway, Caleb, one of the sons of Ipswich, which I also think it's funny that that's what people call them. They're like, those are the sons of Ipswich. And they're like, what is that? Like a band? And they're like, no. Their families founded the town. And then they seem to be like, they have mysterious amounts of influence and we've never questioned it.
I honestly thought they were just like a boy band that plays like mall openings.
I mean, I'd be into it. But no, they're just friends.
Friends is sort of a loose word. They are like bonded through the powers that they have.
Through the power.
Right.
And the covenant of silence.
Yes. Because it does seem like Caleb and Poe
are kind of the leaders.
Yeah, well, or at least like they actually are friends. And then, Reed and Tyler are friends too, but they're like they use more often. They're like the more bad boys of the boy band. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're the ones who are off trying to date the witches of Eastwick. You know what I'm saying?
Look, if this is Lord of the Rings, they're Merry and Pippin.
Yeah.
And Caleb is Bilbo and Pogue is Sam. Obviously.
100% all of that is true because when shit starts to pop off, we largely don't see Reed or Tyler for the rest of the movie. And then towards the end, Pogue has to be taken out so he doesn't like take over the movie and become the main character. Like after the swimming scene, when we saw all 9 of his abs, they were like, we got to get him off the screen because people are going to wonder why he's not the main guy.
Soapbox. I find Taylor Kitsch incredibly attractive.
Oh, really, Paige?
Yeah. I wasn't a Friday Night Lights person because I don't care a lot about football. However...
Oh, I only watched it for the lights, Paige.
There you go. I think John Carter from Mars is criminally underrated. I think that movie was actually good, and if they had invested in it the way they invest in other properties, we would have had multiples of them, and people would have been super into it.
I don't know if you're insinuating that they didn't make a good movie.
I'm not.
Because if that's what you mean, disagree. Good. Okay. Because I watched that movie and it's so insane, but great. I loved it.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters and it had gotten terrible reviews. And I remembered walking out of the theater and being like, am I crazy? I felt like this was good. And then it like doomed his career for a while, which is total bullshit because he's a really good actor. And that movie was fucking good. I'll stand by it.
I agree with all of that. I don't know if I remember the story of the movie all that well, but he's like a Civil War soldier that goes to Mars and fights. Yeah.
And he has like less, because it's Mars and the gravity is different, he can like jump and like, yeah. It's super fucking interesting.
Yeah. What side of the war was he on, Paige?
I do not remember. Sorry.
Well.
Guilty as charged.
I honestly don't know. I don't know either, but.
I don't remember.
Anyway.
But what was that thing we watched? It wasn't Dope Sick. Was it Dope Sick or was it the other one that he played the guy who was addicted to painkillers?
Yeah, that was Dope Sick.
And he was amazing in it.
Oh, I mean, I think he's an actually great actor. I don't think he necessarily is showing off that skill set in this movie.
No,
but
I'm just saying, I don't think he has the career that maybe he deserves given his acting skill.
He might be going the Josh Hartnett route, sort of, is what you're saying. Like, I mean, I think Josh Hartnett's a great actor too. So, like, yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, but I think he's good though. I like Taylor Kitsch.
Okay, back to the beach party, and Caleb is going to fight with this much shorter, smaller guy that he would definitely annihilate, Aaron. And Sebastian Stan gets in the middle of it. Is like, hey, we don't need to fight, guys. We can all be friends. And then as he's doing that, Reed, the blonde son of Ipswich, makes a guy barf onto the like bully dude's back, which is disgusting. But as that's happening, they're like, the cops are coming, run away from the party. And they all run through the woods.
Paige.
And they should have played Dragula, but it might not have been out yet.
By Rob Zombie, that would have been a good one to get away to.
As they're just running for the cars, like, dig through the ditches. Like that.
Yeah, that would have been great.
That would have been awesome. Yeah.
I do love that this beach party has a full-ass DJ setup. Like PA, DJ turntables, and that DJ was smart enough to set up like a checkpoint for cops 20 minutes away.
Yes.
Because they have plenty of time to walk their asses back to the car.
Yeah. And like tear it down. Here's the other thing. It's a full setup that would require like a generator.
Oh, yeah. No, they have to have power.
Because it's a fucking beach.
Yes.
Right? And so it's almost like you would set up a wedding and then you're like, the cops are down the street. And just like scrambling to get speakers in your car.
Yeah.
It's madness. It is crazy. But they get to the cars. Sarah's car won't start. And so Reed is like, ha 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 ha. I can make her car start with magic. And he does. They get in their car. She gets in her car. Sebastian Stan rides with her and her friend because he's kind of going to like lay some groundwork of like, I'm the cool guy friend that can be a friend to you. And that's how I'm going to get in with your boyfriends, basically.
Yeah.
Who are the Sons of Ipswich and infiltrate their friend group.
Well, and Sarah's also new to school and was like pretty flirtatious with Caleb, right?
Right.
And then Reed also sort of wanted to, get to know Sarah a little bit. But like, that's why he like fixed her car and Caleb was like, you can't because the covenant or whatever.
You'll get too addicted to the power.
And Reed was like, I might get too addicted to the pussy after I finish fixing her car.
Yeah.
And so he does. But Sarah's, I don't think really ever into Reed. She's pretty into Caleb the whole time.
She's pretty into Caleb the whole time. But the cars all get away. But the Sons of Ipswich are last, and the cops are chasing them. And they drive out to what is essentially a cliff at the end of the beach.
Yeah.
And the cops are honking like, no, you're going to go over the cliff. And as they're about to seemingly drive off the cliff, Reed says, Harry Potter can kiss my ass. And then the four of them do something to the car, potentially float.
I mean, it doesn't matter what they do because the car flies. Like, it doesn't matter what they're doing in the car. The car is flying. I just assumed that it was Reed that was driving. So I assumed he was just using the power or whatever.
Well, it's all four of them because they basically say they're like, this will take all four of us.
Oh, I guess they do. Yeah, but who cares? It's like the power is so like nebulous and everything the plot needs and nothing it doesn't. It's crazy.
Right.
But I do love that like they fly off, the cops stop just in time so they don't go over, and then their Jeep lands behind the cop car and then drives off, and the cops get out and they're like, those damn Sons of Ipswich got us again. Like if I saw a Jeep fly and then drop down behind the car, I would be losing my mind, Paige.
Yeah.
They get out and they're like, damn. It's like they're the boss hog from fucking exactly. I forget the name of that stupid show, but like, it's like that. It's so so silly.
It's Dukes of Hazzard.
That's it. Thank you.
But Sons of Ipswich. Goddamn Sons of Ipswich. Got it again. Yeah. And they're just driving away like, woo, like flipping them off through the windows and shit.
If you look at the top of that Jeep instead of the General Lee flag or whatever that is,
it's just a pentagram on the top.
No, I was going to say it's a Ouija board because it's the General. It's Confederate Ouija board General on top.
Anyway, they get home. No cops have followed them or questioned them at all, even though they definitely have their license plate,
Yeah, because it was flying in front of them, literally.
And this doesn't come back to bite anybody in the ass. It just, they're like, well, I guess they escaped. But meanwhile, the girls and Sebastian Stan get back to the dorms and he walks them to the door and he's like, oh, there's a spider on your shoulder. And she's like, oh, no. And we will find out that he's creating all those spiders.
He's a very spidery kind of dude.
Don't like it at all.
They're falling into his spider webs, Paige.
Oh, they caught me in my spider web.
The funny thing about it is he doesn't need to do any of that because he's like hanging out with the people he wants to kill all day. So he doesn't need to use bait.
I know.
But like, that's what he says later. I still don't understand why he has to do any of this.
Todd, he doesn't. None of this movie has to happen. It's just nothing. The plot doesn't make sense. No one's motivations make sense. It's basically just a vehicle for hot guys in 2006 to do Hadouken hand motions and for them to test out all of the final effects in Adobe.
I didn't think of the Hadouken until you said it, and now that is the entire final fight. It is just Hadoukens. Yeah. It's like Rennie Harlan was like, hey, I saw this game Street Fighter like about 10 years ago, and I would like for all the punches to look like that if you don't mind. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Y'all seen Dragon Ball Z? You get into it. It's basically this movie. We do find out that Sebastian Stan is in room 311 because, whoa, spiders are the color of his energy.
How dare you? You're about to make me all mixed up.
Digga, witch is drowned. Anyway, so he like leaves, and oddly enough, Kate is like, he's kind of hot, which is weird because like she's dating Taylor Kitsch clearly, but she's also like, I don't know. I'm keeping my options open.
She's looking for another relationship before she leaves her current relationship. Like, that's what she's doing. And Taylor Kitsch, he's onto it. He knows.
He knows what's up, but he loves her, and so he's still going to fight for her.
Well,
is it love?
that's why I said that. I mean, he does he is concerned with their relationship. I mean, at one point, it sort of makes him a red herring because he is actually just uncomfortable about his relationship. It makes him do some sketchy things and act in sketchy ways.
Sure. How many days do you think this movie takes place over?
Oh, God.
I have an answer for you.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Like an educated guess, I'm going to say 6 weeks.
7 days.
He's only been in the school 7 days? That's insane. And you sound so much like one of the witches when you laugh like this because your voice is sort of half gone.
Because my voice is so fucked up.
You sound like such a weeach.
Oh, I'll make you my weeach.
I love Sebastian Stan.
Just chewing on all the scenery. We know it's a week because in this next scene, Caleb goes to the mansion where he lives with his mom, who has a very strange, very Oedipal vibes.
When he goes to the mansion, I was like, is this like their dorm? Is that their dorm mother? Because
no,
it does feel like maybe she's not his real mom because it is sort of Oedipal in a way. You know, like I don't know. It was weird.
It's weird, but no, that is his mom. And having seen the movie many times, I think this is more just like a confusing acting choice, maybe, where like knowing how it ends, all of her like things that she's saying, she's like drunk and concerned because she knows that like his dad is super old and he's going to die and because of all the power and her son's about to ascend. Because in this scene, we find out that he turns 18 that week.
Yeah.
And the night he turns 18 is the night he fights Sebastian Stan at the end of the movie. So this movie takes place in less than a week.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Also,
6 days.
You said his dad was really old. His dad is 44.
44.
They say it in the movie. He just couldn't stop himself from using his powers, so he aged very rapidly.
Yeah, he's like Bilbo going for the ring. Like it Gollumed him.
Have you heard the phrase live fast, die young?
Yes.
It's that. This movie is like that metaphor. Like, oh, he couldn't stop himself from using his, quote, power, so he died young.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is insane.
And he looks like super old. We won't find out initially because like the movie plays it as if his dad is dead.
Yes.
For a while until we find out.
We don't find out it's his dad until like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe it's just because I've seen it a lot, but yeah. Anyway, his mom is like, he's the most beautiful man I've ever seen. You look exactly like him.
Ugh.
And then it cuts to a photo of a person that looks nothing like Stephen Strait.
I know, and it's like black and white, and you're like, that's like a 1890s photo. What are we talking about?
And they look nothing alike. She's like, you look exactly like him. I was like, why didn't you just put a picture of him there? Like, if you want, anyway, or his dad or something. I don't know. Anyway, she's like, I met him when he was just a year younger than you. And it's supposed to be her being wistful, but it comes off very Oedipal, which is very strange.
It comes off like she's into it. Like she's like, hey, what are you doing later, son? Like that's the vibe. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. And she's like, I won't survive losing you. And he's like, all right, mom, let's go to bed. And I was like, separate beds, right? Like, but we cut back to the dorms. I would say I would be way more comfortable now just hanging around in underwear with a roommate than I was as a teenager because these people are teenagers.
I did notice that. I was like, oh, I don't know that I would have done that in my high school.
Right? I mean, I feel like this happened in college once or twice, but it was not the norm. I feel like now I have friends that I've been friends with for so long, it would not be weird. But like, this is a person she just met. And she's just like, anytime they're in that dorm room, pants off, bras off. Like, it is just the weirdest slumber party vibes. I noticed it the first time. It's weird every time. They're also the only girls we ever see in the dorm or anywhere else, except for the other time we see Kira playing with her brother friend's hair.
I don't love the way that sentence ended, but
I don't either.
I also don't know that that's not what's happening in that scene, so whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is always like Rennie Harlan was like, okay, have you seen those like 70s and 80s like college comedies where like the girls get naked and have a pillow fight? pretend like you've just got done. You're laying in bed sort of relaxing and talking.
Right.
Like that's the vibe. You're just now finished pillow fighting and now you're going to go read.
Right.
Let's pick up the scene.
Let's pick up the scene.
So guys, lose the pants is what I'm saying. Lose the pants, go lay down.
Yeah. This is where Kate was just like, hey, Caleb's a good guy. You should be with Caleb. By the way, they're all from these 5 families that founded the town and blah, 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 and witches. And she's just like, what was the 5th one? And she's like, oh, that guy died. Anyway, night. Like, good night. Like, I just gave you the exposition you need, and now I will be unconscious. We cut to the cops who were like, I swear it went right over the cliff. And we never come back to those cops, by the way. There's a straight up murder because those cops get called away to the other car where they find that dead body.
They do, yes.
With the milky eyes. And then that's the last time we see the cops with an active murder investigation.
They're busy investigating the murder, Paige. They're not going to check in with us on the movie set.
Well, especially not when they're mishandling evidence, which we'll cover later.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Warmer, sunnier days are coming. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer. Well, let's call it fall. Thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto, Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Guys, you can make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options, all while keeping kitchen time to a minimum. Factor's meals are ready to go in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. So head to factormeals.com/horrorvirgin50 and use code horrorvirgin50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code HorrorVirgin50 at factormeals.com/HorrorVirgin50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month's while your subscription's active.
Okay, want to know where to find brands on brands this fall? At Ross. They've got big savings on the latest fall styles. Seriously, you'll find the brands you want at prices you'll love. At Ross. Yes, for less.
But anyway, we cut back to the dorm and it's like 2 a.m. and she's showering after she got into bed and then got out of bed to go shower.
It's been a weird night, Paige. She's having a late night shower.
Late night shower. She thinks she sees someone in the steam. Now, after watching this multiple times, I know that this is Sebastian Stan. And if you look closely, you can see like a reflection of him in the mirror a little bit.
You can.
But the movie wants you to think that this is Reed using his power because as she runs out into the hallway after thinking somebody was following her, she runs into him and he's like, oh, I'll check the bathroom with you. And he's like, there's nobody there. So I'll see you later. Catch you later. Bye.
We do get like long shots of her in the shower and then like wearing a towel, walking down the hallway, that kind of stuff. But like not much happens really. It really is just to sort of sexualize her.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, everyone is sexualized in this movie.
I know.
Literally everyone.
Yeah. It's like the Rennie Harlan special.
Well, there's a particular scene that I will talk about when we get to it that famously Rennie Harlan spent a lot of time casting one background person, and we'll talk about it.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
So we cut to the next day where Caleb is driving somewhere. We don't know what day it is. We don't know where he's trying to go.
Well, none of that is set up. We do eventually get somewhere, so I know where he's going. Like he's going to the first colony house for their family.
Well, he's going to the pharmacy first.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you're right. Yeah.
As he's driving, he sees this creepy dude jump scare.
Yes.
We will find out later is called a darkling, and it is never explained what that is or how it happens.
I thought that was like the person who was like gonna attack them or whatever. But no, we find out that Sebastian Stan is the 5th family descendant and the darkling duck is like not around anymore for no reason. Like what?
I think he's sending the darklings to freak them out.
Oh, well, that would have been cool if it explained that at all.
It does not.
I thought the darkling was something else that we were going to get to battle in the Covenant too. Covenants.
$.
Doctrine and covenants.
No, and this is only from multiple times watching it. I think it's either something that Sebastian Stan sends to freak them out, kind of like he kind of sends a nightmare to Sarah with the spiders and stuff. It's kind of like that. Or it's a reverberation from the power that he's using, because they do talk about how they can all feel the power when he uses it.
Yeah.
And there's like these reverberations reverberations. And because that's someone he killed, maybe that's part of that reverberation. And that's why you see it and feel it. But again, the movie does not explain it either way.
Yeah, I was going to say, Paige, you are being very kind to this Rennie Harlan masterpiece.
Yep.
Because you just put way more thought into it than anyone on set did.
Truth. He shows up to the pharmacy to pick up pills for somebody. We don't know. We'll find out in just a bit. And who should be there but everyone else? Because they went into town to get stuff before the school year starts, I guess. Or maybe the school year's already started. We don't really know when any of this is. I assume the beginning of the year.
It has to be.
We only see them in class twice, and it's the same classroom. Yeah.
So yeah, it has to be during the school year at some point. But I got early in the
fall.
Yeah.
We know it's fall.
Yeah.
Because there's a fall dance.
Yeah.
So like the first week of, who knows? Anyway. They do talk about how they were going to go see the new Brad Pitt movie. I will cover in fun facts what Brad Pitt movie that was.
Was it 7?
No. How Did This Get Made has done an episode on this, and they did a deep dive to find out what Brad Pitt movie it was. And it's very, very strange to go into like what it would have been at this time.
Can't wait for that. All right, cool. Table it.
But they're running errands. What we'll find out happens is Kate and Chase, who's Sebastian Stan, go to see the movie together. And Sarah and Caleb go to drop off the medication at basically the original colony house for his family, the Danvers family.
Which I thought was insane that the original Danvers
still
colony
standing?
house, that it's in a rural area.
Why is that strange?
Because the original colonists did not settle by themselves as a single family in a rural area. They settled in a town where you could build defensive forts because we were not the only people settled on this land.
Yeah, that's true.
It was this was clearly written by someone who doesn't understand what life was like for the early settlers.
I think I was thinking of it more like a plantation house, which would have had a lot of land around it.
Yeah, but you know what we didn't build first when we got to America? Huge ass plantations.
Huge ass plantation. That's later on.
We were like, oh my God, can I build a tree fort and then put a fence around it so I don't get murdered while I'm here?
Yeah, so it's definitely not the original colony house.
No, it's definitely not.
It's probably the second or third generation house of them there or whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but you are absolutely right.
I was like, this is written by someone who is either not American or has no idea what it was like for people during this time.
I bet it's someone who was trying to base this on iconography and imagery from the late 1600s. So like after, 50 to 70 years after people originally ended up there, and they're thinking of it in that context, like the way that we think of like Sleepy Hollow,
yeah,
or Scarlet Letter, where it's still that like at that point it's early 18th century, like 1700s, but like it's that same area and it's early America, but it's more established. I think that's probably what they were thinking. But yeah, you're right. It would not be that. It would have been in the fort.
Yeah.
But he basically says, he's like, oh, this is just for our caretaker. And he's like, my dad went to the school we went to, his class of 81, but he passed away. So he goes in and gives the medicine to the caretaker, Gorman. And he's like, is there anything else he needs? Because it's clearly for some old man in the chair. And he's like, no. Okay, see you next week then. We don't know who that is. They don't say who it is.
Yeah, we just see like a Dr. Claw shot of a guy's arm in a chair and him like moving his fingers.
Yeah.
But you can tell they're old fingers. Like whoever belongs to that hand has definitely been using. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Anyway, he comes back to the car and he's like, do you want to change? Because we're going to go to Nikki's. And she's like, what's Nikki's? Cut to some sort of teen bar.
It's just a bar. Like it is 100% a bar.
It's a bar full of teenagers and bikers.
Yes.
And nothing in between.
It's like Hell's Angels and their children.
Yes.
Like it doesn't make any sense that these two groups of people would be together in this sort of setting.
And here's the thing. I understand, a brewery or something that might also have food, like that would be different. This is a dive bar with pool tables and like very few, there's like one or two tables to sit at, but very few. Mostly it's just a bar. But Taylor Kitsch walks up and he's like, yeah, I'll get burgers, fries, and a Coke, thanks. Like it's just a restaurant.
And I was like, bro, this is a bar. I don't even think they have a kitchen.
Yeah.
Like all I'm seeing here is a bar.
You're lucky to get Diet Coke here. Like it's,
I know.
Yeah. But before he pays for the burger, because he orders it, and then he walks over to Reed and Tyler, who are by the pool tables, and they're looking at this girl bending over the bar, and they take bets on what kind of underwear she's wearing. And Taylor Kitsch is like, she hasn't worn underwear since she was 12. They use magic to blow her skirt up, and of course she is naked. However, if you watch this on TV, she is wearing underwear.
Really?
If you watch a TV version. Yeah. And I believe they shot two. I don't think they like went in and post and did it. I think they shot a second one with underwear. But this was where Rennie Harlan focused most of his casting energies because he wanted to find the woman with the perfect butt. And in the director's commentary, there's like a recording of him talking about like how it like long they looked for the perfect butt for this one shot for a character who does not even have a name and is only there to be objectified by our other characters that are supposed to be, air quotes, the good guys.
And children and minors, like they're children, Paige.
They are all under 18. That is correct.
Man.
They're children. They're children. They're children.
I hate everything about what you just said. Like,
yeah, as you should. That's unfortunate information.
yeah.
Anyway, they're playing foosball. It's clear that there's some kind of stress between Pogue and Chase because Chase is hanging out with Kate too much. None of this really matters. And then Sarah puts a quarter into the jukebox and plays I Love Rock and Roll. And they all dance for way too long without any furthering of the story.
We get a whole verse and chorus. Yeah.
Yes. When a fight breaks out by the pool tables because Reed was using magic to scam people at pool, specifically Aaron, the other bully guy from school. So they all take it out to the alley. So they're going to fight about it. And the guy who owns the bar is like, yeah, no, bye. Not in my alley.
It's Nikki.
Yeah, it's Nikki.
I think it's awesome that the guy who owns the bar and like named it after himself also works it and appears to just be the bouncer.
Yeah, he's both the bouncer and the cook and the bar back, like everything. But he's like, get the fuck out of here. And they're like, all right. So Aaron and the other guy leave. And now it's just our four. They insist on calling them witches, not warlocks. I don't know why, but sure. Our four witchy teen boys. And he's like, if you use like that again in public, I'll have to take action. And they're like fighting for leadership within the group. But this is also just serves to give us a little bit more information about how Caleb is going to have the most power as soon as he ascends. So he's like the most powerful because he's getting close to his ascension.
Yeah, but not necessarily because he's special, but just because he's the closest to getting his full power.
Right. And this is also where we find out that Reed is like, I didn't use powers the other night. It was not me in the shower. It was somebody else. And he's like, I don't believe him, but fine. Great. So they all kind of disperse and he takes Sarah home. They kiss. And then we cut to her trying to sleep in the dorms and a spider crawls into her ear. Ugh. She wakes up. She finds it in her hair. Then there's spiders all over her and the walls, everything. One crawls into her roommate's nose and explodes out of her forehead. But then she wakes up and everything is fine.
Can I break in here to say something that I really thought was hilarious about the scene where they kiss right before this one?
Yes.
She thanks him for an amazing day.
Yeah.
Like they had spent the whole day together. That whole day date consisted of them running an errand for him and then going to hang out at a bar with his friends.
Right.
Like, that's not a whole day. Like, that's a bad first date, honestly. Like, that's terrible.
Her expectations are low.
Yeah.
2 days from now, they'll proclaim their love for each other, and he will have to almost, like, protect her from dying.
Yeah.
They move fast in Ipswich, apparently.
I guess. I thought it was crazy. I was like, you should expect better, Sarah. He was like, I've never taken anyone out to my first colony house. And she was like, oh, why did you do that? And he's like, I don't know yet. But like, you made her sit in the car, bro.
Yeah.
You didn't take her there. You made her sit in your driveway.
Yep.
Why? You can't make someone feel special for that.
You cannot. I agree with you.
Sarah should expect better. Like, ladies, expect better. Paige, I didn't let you come sit in my family driveway for me to not get an HJ tonight. Like, that's the vibe. Like, I couldn't believe he was saying shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, Caleb, you're supposed to be the good guy. What are you saying?
Well, we're going to get into one of my favorite weird things about this movie because Caleb goes home and then wakes up sweaty. No one will wake up unsweaty for the rest of this movie. In fact, there's a scene later where he wakes up sweaty and then calls Taylor Kitsch, who's like, I'm also awake and sweaty. And it's hysterical to me. It's just a weird thing this movie does.
Isn't it right now? Isn't that when he does it?
Yes. So he wakes up because he sees the Darkling again.
Darkling duck. I do want to say, Paige, waking up sweaty is the sexiest way to wake up.
I mean, it depends on why.
For me, it was when I had COVID, so maybe it wasn't the sexiest way for me to wake up.
No, usually if I've woken up super sweaty, it's because I'm very ill.
Yeah.
That is usually a sign that something is not okay with my body.
You're like, oh, my body is telling me I cannot gamble on this fart.
Yeah. Or like my body is telling me that I better take Mucinex now or pay later.
Is that a sativa? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a sativa.
Sorry, that's such a nerd reference from a few episodes ago.
So Pogue calls him and is like, I saw the Darkling too. And he's like, yeah, someone's using powers big time, which is what makes me think that maybe it's from the reverberation of the use of the powers.
It could be.
Anyway, but yeah, they're like, sweaty. I'm sweaty too. Are you sweaty? I'm also sweaty.
It's like, bro, I'm the sweatiest I've ever sweaty, bro.
And it looks like someone just before he answered, he sits in bed huh, and a PA had just
oh yeah, definitely.
just sprayed him down.
It doesn't look like sweat. It looks like someone sprayed him with like Windex.
Or sponge bathed him right before he sat up. Yes. Anyway, we cut to school the next day because they still have to go to school.
Of course.
And he has to go see the provost after class. But it's a class on American literature where they're going to be covering The Shining. Cool.
Well, and 4 other books from other writers, yeah.
And Cormac McCarthy and Tim O'Brien and Kent Harf, yeah. But so he goes to the provost office and the provost is like, look, we don't want people to think about murders and fights. And I heard you got in a fight in a bar last night. So could you not? And he's like, oh yeah, no, of course, I'm sorry. And he's like, also be nice to Chase Collins because he's new and his family's rich and we would love to keep that money. He's like, all right, I got it. Thank you. We cut to Sarah in the library researching witches and the Sons of Ipswich. And again, there's no dialogue in this scene. There's no highlight. You are supposed to, from the very fleeting shots of the things that she's reading, glean all of the background information for Sebastian Stan's plan.
You know what doesn't happen?
That.
All of that.
That.
I was so lost. I was like, what is happening?
Again, multiple viewings where I'm like, oh, this is where they thought they had communicated that within the script. And they really had not.
Okay, opening credits montage. I'm not going to pick up on that. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. But we cut to later that day where they're in the showers after swim practice. And I do love that they're leaving swim practice and Reed takes a towel and he snaps somebody with a towel. And then he just throws that towel at another dude. That dude is fully clothed.
Yeah.
And just gets a wet towel across the back. And he's just like, ugh. And he's just in the background. And it's really funny to watch for every time.
It ruins his day, though, Paige. He's wearing the clothes he's wearing to school.
He's wearing a blazer.
Yes, and now it's wet with some guy's dirty-ass, towel.
Plastered across his back. It was really fun. I was like, oh, God.
I'd be like, my blazer is forever unclean.
Poor guy. But this is where Sebastian Stan bumps into Aaron, the bully guy.
You call him the bully guy, but anytime he tries to bully, he gets his ass kicked. And he does right here, too.
Yeah. Well, he throws Sebastian Stan up against the lockers and then kind of punches him. And Sebastian Stan, and I only know this for the amount of gay supercuts that exist of this scene on the internet, looks like he kind of likes it.
Oh, he's into it.
And then turns around and shoves that dude back into a locker and gets him back, basically. But yeah, there are so many supercuts of this scene of him being flung up against these lockers shirtless and then him kissing Stephen Strait on the floor of the bathroom later.
Yeah.
It's I feel like this movie was an awakening for a lot of people and Godspeed for all of you. Anyway, this is what kind of bonds him to the other dudes because they're like, oh, he hates that guy too. We also don't like him. Cool. Yeah. So we cut to Stephen Strait, I guess, took Sarah out to dinner. We did not see it on screen. We've just cut to it later. And he's like, will you go to Saturday, Fall Fest with me? Because it's also my birthday. And she's like, I'd love to. Oh my God. And then they make out for a bit.
Oh yeah. They get in there,
But at this point, Pogue is like, yeah, I don't like that you're hanging out with Chase. He's talking to Kate. He's like, please don't hang out with him anymore. There's something off there. I don't know what it is. And she's just like, he's being jealous, so I'm not going to answer his phone calls. So Kate and Sarah have this conversation of maybe he's picking up on the fact that you're looking for something new. And she's like, well, maybe I am looking for something new.
Well, I mean, she did just, I mean, they more or less like Taylor Kitsch and Kate have the like, oh, but he's just we don't have to worry about Chase. He's just a friend conversation. He's like, you put a spell on me, but you say he's just a friend, but you say he's just a friend. Kate, baby,
you make me sweaty because you hang with Sebastian Stan.
So good. Yeah. Anyway, but like it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. But Caleb goes home and he wakes up super sweaty because the Darkling is standing over his bed and he's like,
Darkling duck. I'm going to do it every time. I'm so sorry. It's in my head. I apologize.
It's the last one. There aren't any more. The next day, they are at swimming, and we do find out that he and Chase swim the same race. And so he's like, well, we'll see who's faster. And then we get a swim meet in real time.
I mean, it is a swim meet in real time, but I don't think it's a meet. I think it's just practice.
It's just practice. But the whole thing where it's just like, and they're like swimming through the water. Because remember, this is like peak Michael Phelps era. And they're just like, swimming.
Yeah, because it's Rob Zombie music, right? It's like,
yeah.
Swim through the pools and then run through the locker and there. Yeah, it's like that kind of shit.
Of my dragon. Yeah, but Caleb hits his head on the edge of the pool and allegedly Chase has to save him. Now, what we will find out that he could see is that Chase's eyes were dark, so he thinks Chase was using magic, and that's why he won.
I thought it was hilarious that they sort of already look a little bit alike. So in order for Rennie Harlan to do this big reveal that, you know, Sebastian Stan is a weeotch.
Right.
They put them in the exact same swimsuit, swim cap, and swim goggles and expect me to realize who is using magic. I didn't know who had used magic until the person who hit their head wakes up and it's like Caleb who hit his head. So I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
So Sebastian Stan was the witch. That's a reveal. Interesting. I wish that had been done in a cool way.
Yeah. Well, the next scene, Sebastian Stan gets called out of class to go see the provost, who's like, hey, they found your ID at the murder scene. You should keep better track of that.
I do think it's hilarious. He's like, I wonder how he got a hold of that. And then like just walks, like the police should have been there. The police should have questioned him at least, but he's rich. So he's like one of the 5 kids at the school with the trust fund. So like the cops never really go after them.
Right.
Because they didn't go after them when they flew their Jeep off the cliff earlier.
Yeah. But this is already now too much because Caleb and his friends are like, we suspect him of the highest crimes of swimming too fast. So they go to the school records. They find his file where they're like, oh, his adoptive family died on his 18th birthday. And his like original last name was Pope. And wait, didn't Goody Pope accuse John Putnam? And that's how the 5th family and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it just really just says how the bloodline survived through the Goody Pope. I guess sort of affair, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the consensuality of that.
No, it was not an affair. It was not consensual according to her story.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't really know much about that.
Because it was the band Incubus.
Damn you, Brendan Boyd strikes again.
Damn it, Incubus. She was non-consensually taken to an Incubus concert and some shit happened.
I have seen Incubus live, and it was great, honestly.
I bet they're good, actually. I bet it's not bad.
Yeah, it was good. They can both really sing. Like Brandon Boyd and the guitar player who sings harmonies, great. They're both really solid live.
Fun.
Anthony Kiedis, on the other hand, not so much.
Oh, I have not seen Chili Peppers live, so that...
Have you heard their album?
The live one?
Well, no, I just mean any album that's like of their produced music.
Oh, see, I dig it. They've got their own style. I'm not going to fault them for that.
I love Red Hot Chili Peppers, but you're never going to hear them better than they sound on the album. That's my point.
That's fair.
Anthony Kiedis does not have the best voice in the world, but
sure,
their drummer, Chad Smith, is one of the best in the world. So, like, I've seen him a few times. They're great.
Anyway, this is also where we get the phone call that Kate has gone into anaphylactic shock because she got bit by a bunch of spiders.
Yeah, I did think it was kind of cool to reveal that, like, her dream wasn't maybe a dream, or maybe it was a dream, but it was like her intuition picking up on the spider threat, because what she saw happen to Kate in her dream more or less happened to her.
Right. But this is where they're like, oh, okay, so there's a spell on her. Pogue, you're going to have to go to the hospital in a bit. But first, we got to go see the cave book. So they go down to this cave where the book is floating. They're like, list of names. Yep, that's right. Goody Pope, John Putnam. That's what we thought. He totally incubused her, and that's what happened. And the spiders, and her baby was born 10 and a half months after her husband died, which means it couldn't be her husband's. It had to have been John Putnam's. So the fifth bloodline didn't end. Chase is one of us.
And they're like, what is this, Menudo? We're just adding new members to the band as one's about to age out to introduce him to a new, like, what are we doing? Like, what is this?
I don't, but they're like, okay, so someone was using, and he's already 18, which means he's already ascended. So he's more powerful than all of them. So Pogue is like, Kate's been attacked. I'm going to go after her. And they're like, no, but he goes. And Sebastian Stan's in the middle of the road. And this is where Sebastian Stan goes from being a normal teenager to doing one-liners like this is an Arnold Schwarzenegger film.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And from here on out, I stopped understanding, but I started enjoying so much more. Because, like,
right?
When he reveals that, like, he was using Kate sort of as bait, but, like...
Right, to get to Pogue, to then get to Caleb, and I'm like...
You were with Caleb the past 3 days, most of those days. Like,
right.
At what point were you going to enact your plan? But, like, no one's talking about that because it's like Taylor Kitsch is trying to get to the hospital to see his girlfriend. And so he, like, drives his motorcycle at him, and Sebastian Stan sticks his hands out and, like, lifts the motorcycle over his head and throws Taylor Kitsch in, like, so he's in the hospital because, you know, the accident or whatever.
Right.
But, like, we've seen one of the witches, like, with his car hit a truck.
Right.
And the car, like, dematerialize and then come back around behind the truck. So I assumed Taylor Kitsch could do something like that, but he doesn't. So he is out of the movie.
Potentially, Caleb could do it because Caleb is closer to ascending. So maybe that's why.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
I don't think you should look for explanations in this film.
Taylor Kitsch was like, damn, I had to be born in spring, so now I'm dead.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's why us fall birthdays keep it real. What's up? What's up? Scorpio energy. Bringing it.
You're talking to an Aquarius page.
I don't talk to fish.
Well, that's your loss, baby. We fun.
Or wait, aren't you the goats? The Gemini or the fish? I don't know what the animals are.
No, Aquarius are... No, well, Pisces is the fish. Aquarius is just water.
I don't know any of it.
Because we're the best. We're the givers of life, Paige. Without water, there is no life. And also, if I would say... I think Aquarius is probably my favorite sign because I am an Aquarius. So I think my second favorite is Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus?
Yeah.
Yeah, not Virgicorn?
I'll consider it. Tell me more.
I love just smashing them all together. Anyway, she's in the hospital. Her roommate goes back to the dorm and she comes in, and who's right behind her but Caleb? And he's like, yeah, Pogue's been in an accident. I'm so sorry. And, you know, she's in the hospital or whatever, but it'll be okay. And she's like, oh, wow, that's a bummer. And then the door, like, there's a knock at the door. She goes to answer it. It is also Caleb because, spoiler, she's not there at all. She's laying unconscious, and Sebastian Stan has been, I guess, pretending this in her brain or his brain. Whose brain is this pretend for? This is unclear.
This reveal honestly made me laugh because I didn't know like what was even happening. Like
it's bonkers.
Was Sebastian Stan pretending to be Sarah, or was Sebastian Stan pretending to be
Caleb? Caleb, but technically both.
It's so confusing.
Regardless, Sarah is unconscious and has a spell on her, and Sebastian Stan is just like, well, if she lives or dies, it's up to you. Because, see, here's the thing. I'm going to sell her meat. People pay me a lot to do that.
That's a different movie, but similar energies, honestly.
Oh, God. Anyway, he basically is like, I grew up not knowing what the power was. So, like, I got addicted to it because nobody warned me about it. And now I'm trying to get more power because I'm addicted. So you're going to will me your power on your birthday. He's like, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, well, what if we fight in the bathroom about it and I kiss you? And he's like, still not gonna, but we're going to do that anyway.
Yeah, he's like, but I'll take the kiss.
Who wouldn't? But he's like, okay, unless you want everyone you know and love to die, meet me at Putnam Barn and will me your power tomorrow on your birthday. And he's like, all right, fine. Also, I killed that guy. And they're like, okay. But he releases Sarah from the spell. And now that she's like awake, Caleb is like, hey, you passed out when I told you Pogue's in an accident. But also I got to tell you a bunch of other fucked up shit too. Turns out I'm a witch. And also everyone you know is a witch. And I'm a powerful witch, but I'm about to be more powerful. And so, like, I gotta, like, tell you the truth about the spiders and shit. This is my dad. He looks super old, like Bilbo with the ring, but he's 44. And so, you know, wrap your head around that shit.
I loved when they showed his dad. and then showed him again. And Caleb goes, he's only 44. Like, it was such a funny, like, line delivery and shot. It made me laugh. I thought it was great.
He's only 44.
It's because he looks 98 years old. Like, it's so funny. Yeah.
That's an offense to 98. This man looks 142.
At least.
He looks terrible. And we find out that willing your powers is against the laws, but he did it anyway.
It's against the covenant.
Right. But now he's like, I just got to go wreck Sebastian Stan's shit. That's like my only option. So he goes to tell his mom, because they're going to go to the dance and they're going to like send her to the dance while he goes to the barn to try and keep her safe with Reed and Tyler. And Reed and Tyler are like, well, let us help you. And he's like, no, I don't need any help. Because that would be better for the script. Not for any character reason, but because the script wants a mano-y-mano Hadouken fight between Sebastian Stan and Steven Strait.
And we get it too, and it's great. But I think it's because ultimately, didn't Sebastian Stan say that if he doesn't come alone, he'll kill everybody?
Right.
Instead of just taking Caleb's powers.
Right, exactly.
It's like he's offering the trade. You have to will me your power or I'll kill your family and friends. Which, like, if he does give him his power, he would then just have the power to kill his family and friends.
He'll just kill his family and friends. Yeah.
So yeah, it's sort of like a zero-sum game for Caleb. Like, I get why he doesn't do that, even if he was willing to die for them.
Right.
I think he is smart enough to know that even if I did that, you would still die.
Right, 100%. So they send her to the dance. He goes to the barn. And his mom is like, you got to go talk to your dad because your dad is almost dead anyway. He could just will you his power because when you will your power away, you die. So that's the other thing. It's like if Steven Strait wills his power away, he will die, but everyone else will live, according to Sebastian Stan, but you can't trust him.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust him. But it is like, you're about to die so your son can have your trust fund so that he can then afford to beat Sebastian Stan.
Right.
Like, that is this.
Yeah, that is basically what it is. Sebastian Stan does kidnap Sarah from the dance in a way that reminds me of, did you ever see the 30 Rock episode where Tracy ends up on Cash Cab?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
It is one of my favorite episodes of all time, but there's a scene where he's holding onto .com's shirt.
Yes.
And he goes to wipe his nose and then reaches back up and all of a sudden he's on the bus holding onto a completely different man.
Yeah.
And that's essentially how she gets stolen from this dance where they're like, she's right here. Where is she? Like she was standing there literally the frame before.
Yeah.
And she's gone. And Sebastian Stan lands on the hood of Steven Strait's car and is just like, you coming to the fucking barn, pussy? Let's go.
It's awesome. Sebastian Stan is balls to the wall the rest of the movie. It's great.
They get to the barn. There is like 20 minutes left of the movie. This fight will take 18 of those minutes where it is literally Sebastian Stan just shouting one-liners and throwing Hadoukens for the rest of this and like making weird worms come out his fingers and shit. Just any way that he can like reach and gesture and they can make like a Matrix bullet effect off of it. Like that is what the rest of this movie is. And he's just like, ooh, witchy. And you're like, damn, he's going to win an Oscar someday.
I mean, he is great in this movie. And I mean, it's not a great movie from like, I mean, it's not a great movie. It's just like a fun, silly, cheesy sort of horror movie.
Yes.
And I think he realized that and he fucking nails his part.
He nails it.
Yeah.
He chews the entire barn full of scenery.
Yes.
But we get a witch fight. And at this point, I was like, I know this is close to the end of the movie, but I was like watching the like play line at the bottom of the movie.
Right,
and I was
yeah.
like, there's like no time left. And I'm like looking at it, I was like 15 minutes. I was like, literally this entire fight is the end of the movie.
It is.
And this is also where he's like, I'll let her go. And then like, maybe I'll let you live and I'll make you my wiatch. And it's like, dude, who wrote this? Like, kudos to him for delivering it 100%, but like, damn.
J.S. Cardone wrote this movie.
Ooh, wiatch.
I know, it's great.
It's great. Everyone else is like, who's not at the dance? She's not, he must be at the, I don't know what to do. Meanwhile, his mom goes to his dad's house. It's just like, dude, you're going to die anyway. Will him your power. But before that can happen, Caleb ascends. And this is where we just get like, oh, are you ascending? Finally. Like he's just, Sebastian Stan is at a 12. He's just shouting the rest of the movie, like head veins popping a whole 9. And then they fight for another 10 minutes.
I know. So Caleb is getting his ass beat for the first 10 minutes of this fight because he has not yet ascended.
Right.
But now that it's 11 minutes past 12, yes, I hate that I know that too, he starts to ascend in like his lowest moment. He was like about to die. And then him ascending levels him up to be about the same level of power as Sebastian Stan, right?
Right.
And so now it's more like even Hadoukening.
Sebastian has ascended, but also has his dad's power. So he is still a little more overpowered than Caleb. And so he's still just like beating the shit out of him and starting a fire that might murder Sarah if he just kind of lets it go. But then as that happens, Stephen Straight's dad, Caleb's dad, wills his power and he gets like lightning bolt supercharged. And he just builds like a giant Hadouken full of lightning.
Yeah, he like achieves his final form or whatever.
Yeah, he's just over 9,000! And just like...
It is very Dragon Ball. It is it's crazy. He is holding a ball even. Like a ball of like liquid or whatever. It's crazy.
It's wild. It goes through Sebastian Stan and then it like drags him back into the barn. The barn seemingly explodes, but then isn't fully exploded, and he still manages to save Sarah from the barn. And then all the spells go away, and everyone like feels that he's dead.
Yes.
And the fire department shows up and has no questions about the arson, because why would they? And Caleb and Sarah drive off together. And that's the movie.
It's insane to me that like Caleb's dad just died while fighting. He has to know that that's what happened because he felt himself level up to that level.
Right.
No remorse that his dad is dead at all. There's no acknowledgement that his dad sacrificed himself after sort of being self-interested his entire life. In his final moment, finally did the right thing for his son and like gets no acknowledgement of that. There's no recognition that he gave his life for his son. It's so funny to me.
There's no like, thanks, Dad.
I know. Not at all. He's just like, yeah, damn right you gave me that trust fund so I can beat up the Elon Musk kid or whatever. Like, it's just rich kids fighting and it's funny to me. Anyway, Paige, having seen this movie, having talked about this movie, what did you think about The Covenants?
It's a real fun time. As long as you're not expecting it to be good, logical, or make sense.
Yeah, I think the reason I liked it so much is because you told me it was going to be crazy.
Right.
And that I was just going to like sit back and enjoy the ride. But it's not like what you might call a classically good movie. So like going into it, I was expecting it to be what this is. And it is an exceptionally good version of what you described. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're looking for a Baz Luhrmann tries to create a witch movie, it feels sort of like that level of stylized and weird to me.
Right.
So like Rennie Harlan just makes a really good horny high school movie, I guess.
Yeah.
And throw in some witches. Anyway, but Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, hit us with your fun facts. We watch front facts.
We watch front facts. This is the first one listed on IMDb, is that Sebastian Stan did all of his own stunts. And the reason I think that is funny is because there is definitely some wire work.
There definitely is in that final fight for sure.
Not to steal any thunder, but most of his stunts are just reaching out emphatically for them to then CG Hadoukens over later.
I mean, or like the tentacle things from his fingertips to pull him closer or whatever.
Or to like lift the motorcycle.
You know what's great about his performance though? He looks like he knows exactly what that looks like, and that's what he expected to see, and like it is doing what he expected it to do. And it's like crazy. It looks crazy, but he's such a good actor, man.
I know. Fucking crushed it. So the Danvers mansion, Caleb's house, is only seen far away and never seen up close because it's a water purification facility with some window lighting and greenery added by the production team.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Caleb's character's last name is Danvers. Danvers is the name of a city in northeastern Massachusetts, about 10 miles from Ipswich, where the movie is set. Danvers is also the modern name of Salem Village, the real center of so-called Salem, where the trials happened in 1692 to 93, which also included Ipswich.
Okay.
During the discussion about Stephen King, Reed says Dreamcatcher was the shit. The book Dreamcatcher is about 4 boyhood friends with supernatural powers, much like this film. And I would say maybe read Dreamcatcher instead.
The teacher chose The Shining, Page.
The teacher chose The Shining. So about 200 extras appear in the party scene in the opening of the film. They were recruited 2 days before shooting through a local DJ in Montreal, which is where they shot that one scene.
Okay.
They worked for 2 nights in freezing weather because they shot it at the end of October. And on the DVD commentary, Rennie Harlan said that he was bowled over by how cooperative and enthusiastic they were despite the uncomfortable conditions, because they were supposed to film it at the end of summer in New England so it would still be warm. But of course, October in Montreal, very different climes.
It's probably very cold. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. In the DVD commentary, the director, Rennie Harlan, says that they had to add CGI steam in the shower scene because full frontal nudity was visible and they were trying for a PG-13 rating.
Yeah, I don't think you actually see full frontal nudity, but she is clearly nude in that shower. Yeah.
Yeah. In 2016, Sebastian Stan, and this at 2016 would have been like mid-Winter Soldier, posted a reunion photo of himself, Taylor Kitsch, Toby Hemingway, and Chase Crawford on Instagram with a joke caption that says, "The Covenant 2 coming to theaters in 2034.
Oh my God.
And they have all like remained friends, which I do think is funny. And I also love that he does not like deny or avoid talking about this movie at all. He's like, yeah, it's fucking nuts. Like, but that's my first like actual big movie. And so like I have my career because of that fucking weird movie.
I also don't think anyone should be embarrassed about their performances in this. Like,
no,
I think everyone turns in a great performance with like the script they were given and all of that stuff. I don't even dislike the movie really. I feel like
right? It's weirdly watchable.
Yeah, but it's like very much what I think Rennie Harlan was going for.
Yeah. Oh no, I think this went as planned.
Yeah.
But that's the funnier part of it because you're like, this was the plan.
I know.
The outdoor shots of their school, Spencer Academy, were done at Bishop's University in Sherbrooke, Quebec in the fall of 2005. But most of the shots were supposed to go outside. There was supposed to be a lot more about the school, but it rained for most of the filming, so a lot of that stuff got cut.
Oh shit. There are some shots like in like downpours of rain that they like, fight through.
Yep. So this one is actually really, really funny. Despite popular misconception, and this has happened multiple times when I've heard of people watching this movie for the first time, they get the like title cards in the beginning of the movie with all this like backstory, and they're like, is this based on a thing? Like, am I supposed to know what this is? Is this like The Crow? Is there like some other thing about it?
Yeah, because like The Crow is a comic book, right?
Right. So the confusion comes from the fact that Sony had a comic book of the same name created purely for promoting the movie. So just prior to the release of the movie,
Interesting.
They printed a 4-part comic book miniseries entitled The Covenant. However, the authors of the comic book miniseries and Top Cow Comics, neither one of them are mentioned in the movie's credit sequences. So the comic book miniseries is not actually regarded as source material or canon by the makers of the movie.
Okay.
There you go. This movie was shipped to cinemas under the code name Full Power. That's pretty fun.
That's great. Honestly, that's great.
Yeah, Full Power.
Exactly.
When they calculate the whole Jacob Pope dying, Hagen Pope birth, they say that they're 10 months and 24 days apart, but it's actually 10 months and 7 days apart, which depending on if she was like going into labor late, it maybe could have still been that guy's baby and not the entire band of Incubus. So, who's to say?
Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, but if it was that dude's baby, then he wouldn't have had powers, right?
Right.
It has to be Brandon Boyd's spawn.
Right. 2 members of the Covenant cast would later go on to star in Marvel movies because Disney did not own the rights to X-Men at the time. Taylor Kitsch would play Gambit at one point in X-Men Origin Wolverine in 2009. And then obviously we have the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So that now those universes are married. They are actually in the same Marvel universe.
Nice.
Now, Rennie Harlan agreed to do this movie after getting the script on a Tuesday and committing to do it the following Thursday. In between, he had dinner with Clint Culpepper, who was the president of Screen Gems at the time. And Clint Culpepper wanted to make, quote, the Lost Boys for this generation. And that's kind of the mandate that Rennie Harlan had for this.
I would say he did a good job of trying to recreate that vibe.
That's pretty close,
yeah.
Right? Don't get me wrong. It's not great, but it's not as good as Lost Boys.
I think Lost Boys is better, but this is definitely like paying homage to that.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Brad Pitt movie.
Yes. Yeah.
As analyzed by How Did This Get Made, the only Brad Pitt movie that they could have possibly seen if this is occurring in 2006 as the movie is released, not when filmed, but released, is Babel from 2006.
Oh my God. Have you seen Babel, Paige?
I have not. That's actually one of the ones I have not seen. I remember it coming out and like, I remember it was a big movie at the time, but like, it doesn't seem like something teenagers would be excited to go see.
It definitely wouldn't be, but it's like a thriller sort of movie.
Yeah.
It's sort of more of a slow burn. I don't know. Like I saw it. It's fine. Kate Beckinsale, Brad Pitt. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not a very popular one. I'll just say that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll end on this really fun fact because I mentioned that they all kind of stayed friends after this movie.
Yeah.
And they have repeatedly gotten each other jobs from this movie. Like, hey, if you've got a thing, you should talk to so-and-so.
Yeah.
And so in 2010, a few years after this movie, Sebastian Stan got cast as a bit part in Black Swan. And they were like, do you have like a friend who could play the other guy? And so he called Toby Hemingway, who played Reed in this movie. So they're in Black Swan together as friends in the bar.
That's awesome.
Which is actually pretty fun too.
Yeah.
And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Rennie Harlin's The Covenant in 2006?
I feel like this probably cost about $15 million.
Oh, Paige, you're very close. It was $20 million.
Yeah, okay. And it's mostly CG.
It is, yes.
It was not paying the actors.
And if you adjust for inflation, that's $31.2 million today. Now, this movie premiered on September 8th, 2006, and it was number 1 the weekend it came out. It beat Hollywoodland. Number 3 was Invincible. Number 4 was The Protector. And number 5, Paige, was Cranked.
Oh.
It was actually Crank,
Crank.
not Cranked.
Yeah, Crank.
Yeah. Number 6 was The Illusionist. Number 7, Little Miss Sunshine. Number 8, Wicker Man. Number 9, Talladega Nights. There are so many good movies.
It's a good weekend.
I know, so many good movies. Accepted was in theaters at this time. Anyway.
Oh, Accepted is also a really fun movie.
I know, I like it. Really, it's pretty great. Okay, so what do you think The Covenant brought in its opening weekend?
I actually know,
Okay.
so I have to recuse myself, but it's about $8.8 million.
It definitely is $8.8 million. It was number 1 that first week. It was number 4 its second week, and number 9 its third week, and it was never again in the top 10. And it was only in theaters for about 6 weeks, and so it was like from September 8th to October 13th-ish. But do you know, or do you have to recuse yourself about what it brought in domestically?
No, I don't know what it brought in domestically total, but here's the thing, 8.8 its first week, it definitely made its money back at that point. So I'm going to say, if we factor in marketing as well, that this made, let's say, $45 million domestically.
All right, Paige, you were right. It made its budget back, but its budget was only $20 million, so when it made $23.3, it technically hit that mark.
Okay.
But that's not worldwide. Internationally, it made 14.8 as well.
Okay.
So it still made $38.1 million.
So it ends up closer to where it was at, yeah.
It actually ends up a little bit further from that because it also brought in $27.5 million in DVD and Blu-ray sales.
In sales to a bunch of college freshmen who were like, yeah, this is my porn now.
So it technically made $65.7 million on a $20 million budget. And if you adjust that $65.7 to today's dollars, that's $102 million, Paige.
Nice.
So don't you ever say that The Covenant didn't make money, because it definitely made money.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's your box office. Paige, you want to hit us with that scary scale?
Our scary scale is the scale of how scary we found the film today. Our 1 being Ghostbusters, our 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd, what are you going to rank this?
This is a 1, although I did find the spider scene, like the dream scene, a little creepy and eerie, but it wasn't that scary.
Yeah. This is a 1 for me as well, especially because I've seen it so many times.
So many times, just so many.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to watch this a bunch more too. Paige, what are we watching next week?
This is a movie that takes place with high school students. It's not necessarily back to school or any specific school thing, but a lot of it happens at school.
Okay.
So I'm going to say it counts.
Sure.
This came out in 2020. It was kind of buried in the pandemic, but it is Freaky with Catherine Newton and Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, I remember it making a lot of noise at the time, but it was sort of in the middle of COVID. So yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And it is more of a horror comedy, but we're going to have a great time with it.
I can't wait. So your homework for next week is to watch, I think maybe the only Vince Vaughn horror movie that I know of.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but watch that in Freaky and then check back for that episode.
Todd, do you have any reviews for us?
I do, but before I read a 5-star Apple review, let me read this Spotify comment. And this one comes in from our most recent episode, which was our prom night episode. And this one comes from Steph, and they say, been a fan of this podcast for a long time. The movie that started my love for y'all was Final Destination. And now y'all are doing my favorite movie of Sebastian Stan's. Oh, that's this movie we just recorded. Keep up the amazing work. Love. And Steph, thank you so much. I hope we did your favorite Sebastian Stan movie justice just now.
I feel like there are other ones to select, and I'm going to say watch the rest of his filmography, but sure.
Nah, I think he peaked early. But let me read this Apple 5-star review. And this one comes from Jab to Ginger. And they say, fun times. Just a delightful podcast when you need something in your ear. Also, rooting for an episode on Prom Night 2. Hello, Mary Lou. 5 stars.
It's going to be eligible for sequel month, but also eligible for the end of this month, too. So I guess choose your own adventure.
Yeah, we'll see. Because the listener request is a school. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see what they
pick. It could
pick.
be either one.
Could be. Well, Jab to Ginger and Steph, thank you so much for that Spotify comment and 5-star review. And if you want to have me read your Spotify comment or 5-star review, do one of those things and I will read it. That's how it works. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast. Some might call it a sister podcast called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady, and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back, and I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
That's going to be it for us, you guys, on Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah. Have an amazing week, guys.
Bye.
Bye. I kind of liked how they referred to using magic as just using nerds.